It's pretty incredible sailing conditions out here.
What is it?
Buonissimo.
Welcome back. Last week, we converted our Tayana 37 from wheel to tiller steering, building the tiller from scratch, and explored Agostoli on Kefalonia. This week, we get ready for our passage to Malta, install our new AIS, and set sail for an upwind offshore passage. Ever since we started sailing on Skua, we had problems with the AIS system. The chart plotter and AIS box, both of which were quite old, didn't communicate well, so we couldn't see ship names or their registration number. This means we couldn't call them on the radio for collision avoidance. The AIS and chart plotter companies blamed each other for the malfunctions for months, and we were no closer to a solution. So we decided to upgrade. The guys at em-trak were kind enough to let us test their latest AIS system for free. It's a new kind of AIS that can be connected via Wi-Fi to a chart plotter or tablet, so it can display targets and vessel information directly on your device. On top of that, the system has its own screen and charts, so it works independently. I'm gonna go ahead and unbox this. It's really cool because it's got its own GPS mushroom, so it means that it's got its own data to go off in case our GPS breaks. No idea how old it is, so it's really good. And it's got some cables for installation and its mounting bracket. So the model is the B400 by em-trak, and it's a Class B transceiver. So you're just attaching the bracket to the device.
Yeah, we're going to mount it on the ceiling, and you can mount it either like on a desk or on a ceiling.
Yeah.
And it can be flush mounted as well. So we want the AIS to be visible from inside and outside. Same as the radio really, you want to be able to access it from either. I think we want to mount it up here somewhere and move the radio over or down or something, so that we can easily use both from this kind of area. Looks right.
Next, we connected the AIS to the boat's electrical system. We had spare space on our distributor panel, so we could connect it independently of the other instruments. It's on!
It's alive!
It's alive! Well done, Speedy. Get that right.
Look at this target plot.
Oh,
That's
nice.
cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So select Dharma.
0.2 nautical miles.
CO
0 knots.
Closest point of approach. Time to closest point of approach.
Yeah.
That's cool, isn't it?
That's definitely in a name. Nice.
So chart. Nice.
Oh, that's lovely. So is that all installed and ready to go?
Yeah, I just need to tidy up a few cables at the back and run them properly. But it's receiving and transmitting data, and it's transmitting at 5 watts, which is better than the normal AIS. A standard Class B would be 2.5 watts, but this one transmits at 5, so it's kind of I think they call it a Class B plus. But we're receiving stuff which is pretty far away. Let's see how far away this furthest guy is up here. He is 13 miles away, which is pretty good given that we're in a kind of valley here in a bay.
It's very enclosed with hills everywhere.
Yep. So yeah, pretty happy. And yeah, we're just kind of figuring out all the menus and stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's almost like its own little mini chart plotter.
Yeah. The next day, it was time to get going. We were crossing from Kefalonia in Greece to Malta. The passage involved 330 nautical miles, all offshore. The forecast was for a northwesterly breeze of 15 to 20 knots, which meant we'd have the wind on the nose for most of the 3 days it would take us to reach our destination. It was a first for both us and SCUA. We usually try to avoid sailing against the wind, but our Greek cruising tax was expiring and we needed to get to Sardinia for our wedding. So we decided to give it a go. So we're setting off on our sail to Malta. It's 6 a.m. and we've just left our berth in the free marina. And sad times, to be honest. It's been lovely being in Greece. Testing out the new tiller just now, which is, I thought it was going to be more stressful, to be honest. It's working perfect. And soon I'm going to test the autopilot once I'm out of this sort of narrow bay. We love setting sail at sunrise. While it can be hard to wake up so early, it gives us a chance to see the sun rise, and we get a whole day to get used to the boat's movement before dark.
Traveling from the deep forest into the sun.
Once all our lines and fenders were back in their place, we raised the sails.
An option to run. Oh, Geronimo. Tears keep on falling, the nighttime is ours. Oh, Geronimo. Give us your soul.
Sunrise is such a special moment. The sun rays bathe the sky and SCUA in golden light, and everything looks even more beautiful.
Traveling from the deep forest into the sun. In war.
We waved Kefalonia goodbye and plotted our route to Malta.
Oh, Geronimo. Tears keep on falling, the nighttime is ours.
So we finally have some wind. We're sailing after being stuck with very little wind in Greece for about 2 months, and it's a great feeling. So we have between 13 and 15 knots on the beam. Yeah, exactly on the beam right now, and we're doing 5 knots of speed. And it's a lovely day, it's warm, there's a nice breeze to keep you cool, and our new AIS is working like a dream. I discovered this new amazing feature where you can actually see a trajectory of both boats meeting and where the CPA is, the closest point of approach. And so there is no doubt whether you're going to go past ahead or behind them, which is usually a bit tricky for me to figure out. So I think it will give me a lot of peace of mind during night watches when I'm on deck on my own and I'm trying to figure out which way are we going to pass this big ship. Ryan has gone down for a rest to have a little bit of sleep because we both didn't sleep very well last night. We have 20 knots of wind at the moment, still got all 3 sails out, doing 6.5 knots, which is excellent. I love going fast, and I'm trying to avoid this container ship, which looks to be drifting downwind on its side, and I'll show you it. I usually choose to pass downwind of obstacles, but this ship seemed far enough and was drifting downwind already. I figured I could predict our drift better than theirs. The wind increased to over 20 knots, so we decided to put a reef in the main. We can reef it directly from the cockpit, which is very handy because it means we don't need to go up on deck in heavy seas. With our new steering setup, we use a stretchy climbing rope to tie off the tiller when we use the wind vane. We've been doing 6 knots for the past few hours. It's really pleasant sailing. We have about 20 knots of wind still, sometimes going up to 23. The wind vane over there is taking care of the steering. And because we were going over 6 knots, we have a reef in the mainsail, and I filled up the Yankee a little bit as well, and the staysail is just filled up, but still doing 6.3, which is more than enough. I think if we go too fast, the wind will end at some point. It's kind of moving on our route, and we don't want to miss it and miss the chance of using it. But we're definitely going faster than we had anticipated. We felt the trawling line get tight, so we rushed to get our fishing gear ready. Nice size! Well done. The wind kept increasing, so I put a few wraps in the Yankee to keep the boat in control.
It's pretty incredible sailing conditions out here. It's about 19 knots of apparent wind, but we're doing about 5.5 into that, so there's not many white horses around, so I guess the actual true wind speed is more around like 16 or so. And yeah, Skoo's loving it. She's taking it completely in her stride. It's super comfy. The wind is definitely fairly forwards of the beam. I'd say it's probably about 50 degrees. So yeah, at the moment we're kind of starting to get ready for the evening, and then there's just using the last bit of her on watch to cook up dinner. So I'm out keeping an eye out on things out here. We're about to eat some of the tuna that we caught earlier, which would be really nice. It was a long fin, or some people call it an albacore tuna. I think in the States it's called an albacore, and they're really delish. So looking forward to it.
How is it?
Buonissimo.
Pretty fresh?
3 hours, 2 hours?
Yeah.
about to get dark. Sunset's going to be in about half an hour, I think, and I'm on the first night watch. We're going to try something slightly different this time, where we basically do 2 short shifts in the middle of the day, like around 12, and then that means that we kind of swap who does 2 night watches and who does 1, and who has the joy of getting up at 4 in the morning for a watch. So we'll see how that pans out. Yeah, there's not much else to report. Because of the new AIS, we can turn off, and because we're using the hydrovane, we can turn off all the other instruments, because the AIS has got like a speed over ground thing. So yeah, we can save quite a bit of electricity using the hydrovane and not using the autopilot or the chart plotter, which is really nice. We've just got the staysail up for the night with 2 reefs in the main, so that's giving plenty of power in this strong breeze, but it should also be able to like take us up to about 40 knots, and it's the ideal thing for heaving too. So it's a good sail plan for the night, because if anything gets out of hand, we can just heave too quickly with this arrangement.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you click off. If you regularly watch our episodes, consider supporting our production on Patreon to get access to more videos and our Patreon Hangout Facebook group. Join us next week to watch us sail to Malta.